I stood in the grand ballroom of the Rosewood Country Club, watching my daughter Lily's face crumble as my mother, dressed in her signature Chanel suit, pushed back her chair with a screech that echoed off the vaulted ceilings. The custom unicorn cake from that bakery in Tribeca sat untouched on the dessert table, all 7 tiers of it, each one representing a year of my daughter's life that my family had barely bothered to show up for. But this time they'd shown up, and somehow that was worse. "We've got better things to do," my mom announced, her voice cutting through the string quartet I'd hired, the one playing Disney songs on actual Stradivarius violins. She didn't even lower her voice, didn't have the decency to pretend this was about an emergency. My sister Victoria stood beside her, that smirk plastered across her face, like she'd just won some game I didn't know we were playing. Behind them, my father adjusted his Patek Philippe watch, the one I'd given him for his 60th, and avoided my eyes completely. My brother Marcus was already halfway to the door, phone pressed to his ear like this was just another networking opportunity he was late for. Lily sat frozen in her chair, her little hands still clutching the edges of her custom Dolce & Gabbana dress, the one she'd picked out 3 months ago, the one she'd been so excited about. Her best friends from Dalton were scattered around the room, their parents exchanging those careful Upper East Side glances that somehow managed to be both sympathetic and judgmental at the same time. The DJ I'd flown in from LA stopped mid-song, and suddenly the only sound was my mother's Louboutins clicking toward the exit. I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I didn't chase after them or beg them to stay or ask what the hell they thought they were doing walking out on a 7-year-old's birthday party. Instead, I walked over to my daughter, crouched down in my Valentino gown, the one I'd bought specifically because my mother had mentioned it was trying too hard when she'd seen it in Vogue, and I took Lily's hands in mine. "Hey, baby," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. "You know what? This just means more cake for everyone else." Her lower lip trembled, and I watched a single tear slide down her cheek, taking a streak of the professional makeup artist's work with it. The makeup artist I'd hired because Lily had been so excited about feeling grown up for her Cardi. Behind her, I could see the petting zoo in the garden, miniature horses and alpacas, and that baby goat that cost me $3,000 to transport from upstate, and the magician checking his watch, and the face painter setting up her station, and the entire goddamn 3-ring circus I'd orchestrated because I'd wanted this day to be perfect. "Why did they leave?" Lily whispered, and something in my chest cracked clean in half. I pulled her close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, and over her shoulder, I watched my family disappear through the country club's marble entryway. My mother didn't look back. Victoria was laughing at something on her phone. My father's driver was already pulling their car around. And I realized, standing there in a room that cost me $40,000 to rent and decorate, that this had been planned. They'd coordinated this. They'd shown up in their designer clothes and their expensive jewelry just to make a point, just to twist the knife one more time. "Because they're petty," I finally said, pulling back to look at my daughter's face. "And you know what we do with petty people?" She sniffled. "What? We have the best damn party they'll ever miss." I stood up, straightened my dress, and turned to face the room of parents and kids who were all staring at us with varying degrees of pity and curiosity. I plastered on the smile I'd perfected over years of charity galas and board meetings and forced dinner parties with my ex-husband's colleagues. "All right, everyone," I called out, my voice steady and bright and completely fake. "Who wants to meet the alpacas?" The kids erupted into cheers because kids are resilient like that, because they can bounce back from anything if you just give them something shiny enough to focus on. I watched them swarm toward the garden, their parents following more slowly, some of them touching my arm as they passed with those sympathetic squeezes that Upper East Side women have perfected into an art form. "I'm so sorry, Charlotte," whispered Diane Morrison, whose daughter Zoe had been in Lily's ballet class since they were 3. "That was completely inappropriate." "Don't worry about it," I said, my smile never wavering. "More champagne for us, right?" She laughed, that uncomfortable laugh that meant she absolutely would be texting about this in the group chat the second she got to her car, and headed outside. I stood there for another moment, alone in the ballroom, with the untouched cake and the string quartet awkwardly transitioning into something classical and melancholy, before I pulled out my phone and did the only thing I could think of. I called my lawyer. "Jennifer," I said when she picked up, "I need you to draw up papers to cut my entire family out of my trust." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Jennifer Kim had been my attorney for 6 years, ever since my divorce from Brandon, and she'd seen me through some serious shit. But even she sounded surprised. "Charlotte, it's Saturday afternoon. Are you sure you want to—" "They just walked out of my daughter's birthday party," I interrupted. 10 minutes in. My mother announced they had better things to do, and they all left. In front of everyone. In front of Lily. Another pause, and then, "I'll have something ready for you to sign by Monday morning. Thank you." I hung up and slipped my phone back into the vintage Judith Leiber clutch that had belonged to my grandmother, the grandmother who'd actually loved me, who'd left me the trust fund that had made me independently wealthy at 25, who died 6 years ago and left me alone with a family that only cared about money. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was about to use her legacy to cut them off completely. I made it through the rest of the party on autopilot. I smiled for photos, I helped Lily blow out her candles, I thanked the parents as they left, accepted their carefully worded sympathies, promised to set up playdates soon. I tipped the staff extra, way extra, and apologized for the drama. By the time the last guest had gone and Lily had fallen asleep in the car on the way home, I was running on pure spite and a bottle and a half of Veuve Clicquot. Our penthouse on 5th Avenue was dark and quiet when we got home. I carried Lily up to her room, all pink and white and princess-themed because she was 7 and still believed in fairy tales, and tucked her into bed without waking her. Then I went to my own room, peeled off the Valentino gown, and sat on the edge of my bed in my underwear, staring at my phone. No calls, no texts, not even a half-assed apology message from any of them. I should have been surprised, but I wasn't. This was who they were, who they'd always been. I'd just been stupid or too hopeful or too desperate for family to see it clearly before. My phone buzzed in my hand, and for a second my heart jumped. Maybe it was my mother. Maybe she'd realized how fucked up this was. Maybe... But no. It was my best friend Rachel, who'd been in Dubai for a wedding and had missed the party. "I just saw Madison Hartley's Instagram story," her text read. "Please tell me your family did not actually walk out of Lily's party." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "They did." 3 dots appeared immediately. "I'm calling you." "Don't. I'm fine." "Bullshit. Answer the phone." She called anyway, and I answered because Rachel had been my friend since we were roommates at Brown, and she'd been one of the few people in my life who'd never wanted anything from me except my friendship. "What the actual fuck, Char?" she said the second I picked up. I laughed, but it came out wrong, too sharp and too bitter. "Yeah, that about sums it up." "Are you okay? Is Lily okay?" Lily cried for about 5 minutes and then got distracted by the alpacas. I'm working on a bottle of wine and drafting mental fuck you speeches. Good. They deserve it. All of them. Rachel paused, and I could hear airport sounds in the background. "Do you want me to come back early? I can get on a flight tonight." "No. Stay. Enjoy the wedding. I'm fine." "You're not fine. Nobody's fine after their entire family publicly humiliates them and their kid at a birthday party." She wasn't wrong. I took another sip of wine straight from the bottle because fuck wine glasses and fuck decorum and fuck my mother's voice in my head telling me that ladies don't drink from bottles. "I'm cutting them off," I said. "Jennifer's drawing up the papers Monday." "Good. Should have done it years ago." "Probably." "Definitely. Charlotte, they've been using you as their personal ATM since your grandmother died. Your mom calls you selfish for not funding her charity work. I could hear the air quotes in her voice. While she's dropping 20 grand at Bergdorf's every month. Victoria's business has failed 3 times and you've bailed her out every single time. Marcus borrowed $2 million from you to start that hedge fund that went under in 6 months, and has he paid back a dime? No. And your dad. Jesus, your dad just sits there and lets all of them treat you like shit because standing up to your mom would require him to grow a spine. I laughed again, for real this time. Tell me how you really feel, Rach. I feel like your family is a bunch of spoiled, entitled assholes who've been coasting on your grandmother's money and your guilt for way too long. And I feel like they finally showed their whole asses in front of enough witnesses that you can't make excuses for them anymore. She was right. God, she was so right. But knowing she was right didn't make it hurt less, didn't make it easier to accept that my own mother had looked at my daughter, her granddaughter, and decided that whatever petty point she was trying to make was more important than that little girl's happiness. Why did they do it? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. Why now? What did I do? Rachel sighed. You didn't do anything, babe. That's the point. They're punishing you for existing outside of their control, for having your own money, your own life, your own kid, for not needing them. I did need them, I whispered. I wanted them there. I wanted Lily to have grandparents who gave a shit. I know, and that's what makes them assholes, not you. We talked for another 20 minutes before her flight started boarding. By the time we hung up, I'd finished the bottle of wine and started another one, and I'd made a decision. My family wanted to play games? Fine. I'd learned from the best. I spent Sunday in bed with Lily, watching Disney movies and eating leftover birthday cake and pretending everything was fine. She asked about Grandma once, and I told her that Grandma had a headache and had to leave early, which was such obvious bullshit that even a 7-year-old could see through it. But Lily was sweet and kind in a way none of my family had ever been, so she just nodded and snuggled closer and asked if we could watch Moana again. Monday morning, I dropped Lily at school, ignoring the pointed looks from the other moms at drop-off, because of course everyone had heard about Saturday by now, and headed straight to Jennifer's office in Midtown. She had the papers ready, just like she'd promised. "You sure about this?" she asked, sliding the documents across her glass desk. "Once you sign these, your family will be completely cut out of any inheritance from your grandmother's trust. They'll contest it." Let them contest it. My grandmother's will was ironclad. She left everything to me specifically because she knew what they were like. Jennifer nodded. "All right then. Sign here, here, and here." I signed. My hand didn't even shake. "There's one more thing," Jennifer said, pulling out another folder. I took the liberty of compiling a list of all the loans, gifts, and financial support you've provided to your family members over the past 6 years. The total comes to just over $8 million. I stared at the number on the page. $8 million. I'd known it was a lot, but seeing it written out like that, Jesus. Can I get any of it back? Some of it, maybe. The loans to Marcus were documented, so we can pursue those. The rest, probably not. But I think we should send this to your family anyway. Let them see exactly how much they've taken from you. Do it. She smiled, sharp and professional. I'll have it couriered to your mother this afternoon. I left her office feeling lighter than I had in years, like I'd finally put down a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. I treated myself to lunch at Daniel, ordered the most expensive thing on the menu, and was halfway through a perfect Dover sole when my phone started ringing. My mother. Of course. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. 3 more calls in rapid succession, and then a text. "Charlotte Ann Morrison, you pick up this phone right now." I blocked her number and ordered dessert. By the time I got home that afternoon, I had 17 missed calls from various family members and a group text from my siblings that was mostly Victoria calling me a vindictive bitch and Marcus trying to play peacemaker. I blocked all of them and poured myself a scotch, the Macallan 25 that Brandon had left behind in the divorce, because if there was ever a day that called for the good stuff, it was today. The doorman called up around 6. "Mrs. Morrison, your mother is here to see you. Tell her I'm not home." "She's quite insistent, ma'am." "Then tell her I'm out of town. Tell her I died. I don't care. She's not coming up." There was a pause, and I could hear my mother's voice in the background, shrill and demanding. God love Harold, the doorman, but he was 70, and my mother could be terrifying when she wanted to be. "I'll be right down," I sighed. I changed out of my comfortable clothes and into armor, a sharp Armani pantsuit, heels that made me 3 inches taller, the diamond earrings my grandmother had given me for my college graduation. If my mother wanted a confrontation, she was going to get the version of me that terrified venture capitalists and made grown men cry in boardrooms. She was pacing the lobby when I got downstairs, practically vibrating with rage in her St. John knit suit. Harold looked relieved to see me. "Charlotte," my mother started, but I held up my hand. "Not here. Outside." I walked past her and out onto Fifth Avenue, not caring if she followed. She did, of course, her heels clicking double time to catch up. "How dare you?" she hissed once we were on the sidewalk. "How dare you cut us off like this after everything we've done for you?" "Everything you've done for me?" I turned to face her, and something in my expression must have stopped her mid-sentence. "You walked out of your granddaughter's birthday party. You stood up in front of everyone and announced you had better things to do, and you left a 7-year-old child sitting there wondering what she'd done wrong. So please, Mother, tell me what exactly you've done for me that could possibly make up for that." "Oh, don't be so dramatic. Lily's fine. Children are resilient." She cried herself to sleep. "Well, maybe if you hadn't spoiled her with such an over-the-top party. Maybe if you'd acted like a grandmother for 5 goddamn minutes, I wouldn't have had to try so hard to make her day special." My mother's face flushed red. "I've been a perfectly good grandmother, but you've shut us out ever since you married that awful man. Don't you dare bring Brandon into this. And I shut you out? You're the one who called me twice in the 3 years after Lily was born. Twice. Both times to ask for money." "That's not fair. We've been busy." "Busy spending my money, you mean? $8 million, Mother. That's how much you've taken from me in 6 years, and not once, not one single time, did any of you say thank you." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "That money came from your grandmother's trust. It's family money." "It's my money. Grandma left it to me because she knew exactly what you all were, and I should have listened to her years ago instead of trying to buy a relationship with people who only care about my bank account." "You're being cruel." I laughed, and it sounded mean even to my own ears. "I'm being cruel? You humiliated my daughter in public. You made her feel unwanted on her birthday, and you did it on purpose, didn't you? This was planned. What was it, some kind of power play? Some way to remind me that I need to stay in line?" My mother's silence was answer enough. "Why?" I asked, and I hated that my voice cracked. "Why would you do that to her? She's just a kid." "Because you needed to remember your place," my mother said quietly, and there it was. The truth, finally, laid bare on a Manhattan sidewalk while tourists walked past us taking photos of the buildings. "You've gotten too big for your britches, Charlotte, walking around like you're better than us, like you don't need your family anymore. Someone had to take you down a peg." I stared at her, at this woman who'd given birth to me, who'd raised me, who I'd spent my entire life trying to please, and I realized that Rachel had been right. They weren't punishing me for doing something wrong. They were punishing me for being happy, for being successful, for not needing them to validate my existence. "You're right," I said slowly. "I don't need you, any of you, and I'm done pretending I do." I turned and walked back into my building, leaving her standing there on the sidewalk. Harold opened the door for me with a sympathetic smile. "Rough day, Mrs. Morrison?"
You have no idea, Harold, but I think it's about to get better. Upstairs, I called the nanny and told her to take the rest of the week off paid. Then I called Lily's school and told them we were taking a personal day tomorrow. Then I booked 2 first-class tickets to Disney World because screw my family and their drama. My kid deserved a real celebration. The next few days were a blur of phone calls, angry voicemails, and increasingly unhinged texts from my siblings. Victoria threatened to sue me. Marcus tried the guilt trip angle, talking about family loyalty and how disappointed Grandma would be. My father finally called, the first time I'd heard from him directly, and asked if we could talk this out like adults. I didn't answer any of them. I was too busy watching Lily meet her favorite princesses and ride Space Mountain 4 times in a row and eat her way in Mickey-shaped ice cream. She was happy. I was happy. And my phone was blissfully silent because I'd turned off the ringer. We got back to New York on Friday, tan and exhausted and closer than we'd been in months. Lily had finally stopped asking about Grandma. I'd finally stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, expecting an apology that was never going to come. Saturday morning, I was making pancakes when my doorman called up again. "Mrs. Morrison, there's a Victoria Morrison here to see you. She says it's urgent." I almost said no, almost told Harold to send her away like I had with my mother, but something in his tone made me pause. "What kind of urgent?" "She's crying, ma'am, quite upset." Damn it. I glanced at Lily, who was watching cartoons in the living room, completely absorbed in whatever sugar-high fever dream Nickelodeon was feeding kids these days. "Send her up, but call me if she's not gone in 20 minutes. "Yes, ma'am." Victoria looked like hell when I opened the door. Her hair was a mess, her makeup was smudged, and she was wearing yoga pants and a sweatshirt instead of her usual designer everything. For a second, I almost felt bad for her. Then I remembered my daughter's face at her birthday party, and the feeling passed. "What do you want, Vic?" "Can I come in?" I didn't move from the doorway. "Depends. Are you going to scream at me about the trust fund?" "No, She took a shaky breath. "I need to talk to you. Please, Shar, it's important." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat on my couch, perched on the edge like she was afraid to get too comfortable, and twisted her hands together in her lap. "Lily's here," I said quietly. "Whatever you have to say, keep it civil." "She's the reason I came." Victoria looked up at me, and I was shocked to see genuine tears in her eyes. "Charlotte, I'm so sorry. About the party, about all of it. It was wrong, and I was wrong, and I should have said something right then, instead of just going along with Mom's bullshit." I sat down across from her, too stunned to speak. "I know that doesn't make it better. I know sorry doesn't fix what we did to Lily, but I need you to know that I've been thinking about it all week, and I hate myself for it, for hurting her, for hurting you." "Then why did you do it? Why did any of you do it?" Victoria wiped at her eyes. "Because Mom told us to. She called a family meeting last month, obviously without you, and said that you'd been getting too independent, that you weren't respecting the family anymore. She said we needed to remind you that blood comes first, that you can't just cut us out of your life whenever you feel like it. And the party seemed like the perfect opportunity to make a statement."
A statement? I laughed bitterly. You made a statement, all right. You told a 7-year-old that she doesn't matter. "I know. God, Charlotte, I know. And I'm so sorry." "Does Mom know you're here?" "No. She'd kill me if she did, but I don't care anymore. I'm done letting her control everything." Victoria pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. "I got this email from my business manager this morning. Remember that boutique hotel project I was working on? The one I asked you to invest in last year?" I nodded. I'd turned her down because the numbers didn't make sense and the business plan was a disaster. She'd called me unsupportive and we hadn't spoken for 3 months. "Well, I found other investors, and it's actually doing really well. We're projected to make a profit within the year, and I'm already looking at locations for a second property." She looked at me with something that might have been pride. "I did it without you, Shar, without your money, and you know what? It feels amazing." "That's great, Vic, really."
It is great, and it made me realize that Mom was wrong about you, about the money, about all of it. You're not the family ATM. You're my sister, and I've been a terrible sister for a really long time. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to accept her apology, to hug her and tell her it was okay, and welcome her back into my life. But another part of me, the part that had watched my daughter's face crumble last Saturday, wasn't ready to forgive that easily. I appreciate you coming here, I said carefully, and I'm glad you're doing well with your business. But I need you to understand something, Vic. I meant what I said. I'm done being the family bank. I'm done trying to earn Mom's approval or Dad's attention or Marcus's respect. And I'm definitely done letting any of you hurt my daughter. I get it. I do, and I'm not here to ask for money or to try to change your mind about the trust fund. I'm here because Lily deserves better than what we gave her, and so do you. She stood up, smoothing down her sweatshirt. I know you probably don't believe me right now, and that's okay, but I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to be the sister you deserved all along, even if it takes years for you to trust me again. She left after that, and I sat on the couch staring at the door for a long time. Lily wandered over eventually, climbing into my lap and snuggling against my chest. "Was that Aunt Victoria?" she asked. "Yeah, baby, it was." "Why didn't she say hi to me?" "She had to leave quickly, but she said to tell you she's sorry for missing your party." Lily was quiet for a moment, then, "Do you think Grandma's sorry too?" I thought about my mother, about the fury in her eyes on the sidewalk, about the voicemails she'd left calling me ungrateful and selfish and cruel. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to be good enough, trying to be the daughter she wanted, trying to make her proud. "No, sweetheart," I said honestly, "I don't think she is." "That's okay," Lily said, and the casual resilience of it broke my heart a little. "We don't need her anyway. We've got each other." "Yeah, baby, we do." The next few weeks were weird. Victoria started texting me regularly. Nothing heavy, just little things like articles she thought I'd find interesting or funny memes about motherhood. She sent Lily a giant stuffed unicorn with an apology note that made my daughter squeal with delight. She showed up at one of Lily's ballet recitals without being invited, sat in the back, and left before I could talk to her. Marcus called once, drunk, and left a rambling voicemail about how he'd always looked up to me and he was sorry for being such a shit brother. I didn't call him back, but I didn't block his number either. My father sent me a check for $50,000 with a note that just said, "For Lily's college fund. I'm sorry." I deposited it and sent him a thank you email. We didn't talk beyond that. My mother didn't reach out at all. According to Victoria, she'd basically disowned me at this point, telling everyone at her bridge club that I was having some kind of breakdown and she was giving me space to get my head together. I found out through the society pages that she'd started volunteering at some charity for underprivileged children, which was such obvious image rehabilitation that I actually laughed out loud when I read it. Rachel came back from Dubai and took me out for drinks at Bimmelman's bar. We got pleasantly tipsy on martinis and she regaled me with stories from the wedding. And for a few hours, I forgot about family drama and trust funds and public humiliation. "So what now?" she asked as we were leaving. "You've cut them off. You've made your point. What's the end game here?" "There is no end game," I said. "I just want to live my life without having to worry about whether my family is going to use it against me somehow." "And Victoria? You going to forgive her?" I thought about it. "Maybe, eventually. She's trying, at least. That's more than I can say for the rest of them." "What would it take for you to let her back in?" "Consistency, time, proof that she actually means it and isn't just trying to get back in my good graces so she can ask for money later." Rachel nodded. "Fair enough. And your mom?" "My mom can go fuck herself." Amen to that. 3 months later, Lily turned 7.5, which apparently warranted a half birthday celebration in her mind. I kept it small this time, just her 3 best friends from school, pizza in the park, and a trip to see a Broadway show. No country club, no string quartet, no family. It was perfect. We were walking home from the theater, Lily chattering excitedly about the songs and the costumes, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Charlotte Morrison? The voice was professional, female, unfamiliar. Speaking. This is Dr. Sarah Chen from Mount Sinai. I'm calling about your mother, Patricia Morrison. She's been admitted to our cardiac unit, and your father listed you as her emergency contact. My stomach dropped. What happened? She had a heart attack this afternoon. She's stable now, but it was fairly serious. Your father is here with her, but he asked me to call you. I stopped walking. Lily looked up at me with concern, and I forced a smile to let her know everything was okay. Behind me, her friend's parents had stopped too, waiting politely at a distance. Is she going to be okay? I asked. We believe so, yes, but she'll need to stay here for a few days for observation and testing. Would you like to come see her? Would I? Did I want to go to the hospital and sit by my mother's bedside and pretend like everything was fine? Did I want her the satisfaction of knowing that even after everything, I still cared enough to show up? I'll be there in an hour, I heard myself say. I arranged for Lily to go home with one of her friend's parents, then caught an Uber to Mount Sinai. The whole ride there, I kept asking myself why I was doing this. My mother didn't deserve my concern. She'd made her choice when she walked out of Lily's party. She doubled down on it every day since by refusing to apologize or acknowledge what she'd done. But she was still my mother, and some stupid, stubborn part of me still wanted her to love me the way mothers were supposed to love their daughters. The cardiac unit was quiet when I arrived, all hushed voices and beeping monitors. I found my father in the waiting room, looking older than I'd ever seen him. He stood up when he saw me, and for a second I thought he might try to hug me. He didn't. Charlotte, thank you for coming. How is she?
Stable. They're running some tests now. The doctor said it was a moderate heart attack brought on by stress and high blood pressure. Stress, I repeated flatly. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. She's been very upset about the situation with you and the trust fund. The situation that she created by humiliating my daughter in public? Charlotte. No, Dad, you don't get to do this. You don't get to blame her heart attack on me when she's the one who decided to wage some kind of psychological warfare over money that was never hers to begin with. She's your mother, and Lily's my daughter, and you all chose to hurt her to get back at me. So forgive me if I'm not feeling particularly sympathetic right now. We stood there in tense silence for a moment before a nurse came out and told us we could see her. My father went in first. I waited, pacing the hallway, trying to figure out what the hell I was going to say. When it was my turn, I walked into her room expecting to feel something. Anger, sadness, fear, anything. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of fighting, tired of trying, tired of this endless cycle of hurt and disappointment. My mother looked small in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines and monitors. Her makeup was gone, her hair was a mess, and without all the armor she usually wore, she looked like what she was, a 72-year-old woman who just had a heart attack. Charlotte, she said when she saw me, and her voice was weak. You came. Of course I came. I'm not a monster. I never said you were. You've implied it plenty over the last 3 months. She closed her eyes. I suppose I have. I sat down in the chair next to her bed, not sure if I was supposed to take her hand or keep my distance. I kept my distance. The doctor says you're going to be fine. They want to keep you a few days, but you'll make a full recovery. That's good. Yeah. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside the room, I could hear the sounds of the hospital. Phones ringing, nurses talking, machines beeping out their steady rhythms. Inside, there was just my mother's breathing and the awkward weight of everything we weren't saying. I'm sorry, my mother finally said, so quietly I almost didn't hear her. I looked at her, surprised. What? I'm sorry.
for what I did at Lily's party, for the things I said afterward, for all of it. She opened her eyes and looked at me, and I was shocked to see tears there. I was wrong, Charlotte, and petty and cruel, and I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined this moment so many times, my mother apologizing, admitting she was wrong, begging for forgiveness. But now that it was actually happening, I felt nothing but a hollow sort of sadness.
"Why did you do it?" I asked. "And don't tell me it was about teaching me a lesson or reminding me of my place. I want the real reason." My mother was quiet for a long time, and when she finally spoke, her voice was small and broken. "Because I was jealous." Jealous? Of what? Of you, of your life, of the fact that you have everything I wanted and you make it look so easy. She wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. "You're successful and independent and you don't need anyone. You're raising Lily on your own and doing a better job than I ever did with you kids. And you have all this money from my mother, money she gave to you instead of me, and you don't even seem to care about it. You just go about your life being happy and fulfilled and free, and I hated you for it." I stared at her. "You hated me for being happy?" "I hated that you didn't need me to be happy. I hated that you'd built this whole life that I had no part in, and I wanted to hurt you the way I was hurting every time I saw you with Lily and realized what a terrible mother I'd been to you." Something cracked in my chest, but I didn't cry. I'd cried enough over my mother over the years. I was done crying. "You were a terrible mother," I said quietly. "You were cold and critical, and nothing I ever did was good enough. But I still tried. I still showed up. I still invited you to every important moment in my life and Lily's life because I wanted you there. I wanted you to be different. And you kept proving over and over that you weren't going to change." "I know." "So what do you want from me now? You want me to forgive you? To pretend like the last 3 months didn't happen? To go back to funding your shopping trips and Victoria's failed businesses and Marcus's schemes?" "No," my mother said. "I don't want your money. I don't even want your forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry and that I know I've lost you. I know I've lost Lily, and I know that's my fault." I stood up. "You're right, you have lost us, but not because of the money or the trust fund. You lost us the second you chose your ego over your granddaughter's happiness." "I know." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, this apology seems awfully convenient now that you're in a hospital bed and facing your own mortality. How do I know you actually mean it? How do I know this isn't just another manipulation?" My mother looked at me with tired eyes. "You don't, and I wouldn't blame you for not believing me. But I meant what I said, Charlotte. I'm sorry. And if I get out of this bed, I'm going to spend whatever time I have left trying to be better. Not for you, because I've lost the right to ask anything of you, but for myself, because I don't want to die being this person." I walked toward the door, then stopped. "Lily asked about you last week. She wanted to know if you were sorry for missing her party." "What did you tell her?" "I told her no. I told her you weren't sorry." My mother flinched like I'd slapped her. "But maybe I was wrong," I continued. "Maybe you are sorry. Maybe you'll actually change this time. But I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for it to happen, and I'm definitely not going to expose my daughter to you until I'm absolutely sure you're not going to hurt her again." "That's fair." "Yeah, it is." I left the hospital and took an Uber home, watching the city lights blur past the window. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "I heard about Mom. Are you okay?" I typed back, "I'm fine. She apologized." "Do you believe her?" I thought about it for a long moment before answering, "I don't know yet."
When I got home, Lily was already asleep, her friend's mother having put her to bed. I paid her for the trouble and thanked her profusely, then went to check on my daughter. She was sprawled across her bed, one arm hanging off the side, her favorite stuffed unicorn, the one Victoria had sent, clutched in her other hand. I sat on the edge of her bed and smoothed her hair back from her face. She stirred, but didn't wake up. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry your grandmother is the way she is. I'm sorry your family is so complicated. But I promise you, I'm going to make sure you grow up knowing you're loved, even if it's just you and me. Even if we're doing this whole thing alone, you're going to know you matter." I kissed her forehead and left her room, pulling the door mostly closed behind me. Then I went to my own room, changed into pajamas, and climbed into bed with my phone. I had texts from Victoria, Marcus, and my father, all checking on me after the hospital visit. I answered them briefly, keeping my responses neutral and non-committal. Then I opened a new text to Jennifer, my lawyer. "Don't send that list to my family yet. Hold on to it for now." "Are you sure?" she texted back immediately. "No, but do it anyway." I put my phone on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling, thinking about my mother's apology, about Victoria's attempts at reconciliation, about the whole messy, complicated disaster that was my family. I thought about Lily's birthday party, about the look on her face when my mother walked out. I thought about $8 million in trust funds and the price of trying to buy love from people who should have given it freely. And I thought about what Rachel had said weeks ago, that my family was punishing me for being happy, for not needing them, for existing outside their control. Maybe she was right. Maybe they were threatened by the life I'd built, by the fact that I'd survived and even thrived without their approval. Maybe that's what this had always been about, not the money, not the trust fund, but the simple fact that I'd proven I didn't need them to be okay. And maybe that was the real power I'd had all along, not my grandmother's money, not my expensive apartment or my successful career or my beautiful daughter, just the simple ability to be happy without their permission. My mother called 2 days later. I let it go to voicemail. She called again the next day and the day after that. On the fourth day, I finally answered. "What do you want, Mom?" "I'm being discharged today. I wanted to thank you for coming to see me." "You're welcome. And I wanted to ask if we could talk, really talk, not in a hospital room, not with your father hovering around, just you and me." I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to protect myself, to keep the boundaries I'd worked so hard to establish, to not give her another chance to hurt me. But I'd spent my whole life trying to be the bigger person, trying to build bridges, trying to create the family I wanted, instead of accepting the family I had. And old habits die hard. "Fine," I said. "Come to my apartment next Tuesday at 2. Lily will be at school. We'll have an hour." "Thank you, Charlotte." "Don't thank me yet. This isn't forgiveness. This is just a conversation." "I understand." Tuesday came, and my mother showed up exactly on time, carrying a box wrapped in expensive paper. "What's that?" I asked, letting her into the apartment. "A gift for Lily. I know it doesn't make up for missing her party, but I wanted to give her something anyway." I took the box and set it on the entryway table without opening it. "We'll see. If this conversation goes well, I'll give it to her. If it doesn't, I'm donating it to charity." My mother nodded, not arguing. I led her to the living room, and we sat across from each other, the same way we'd sat that day when Victoria came to apologize. "So, talk," I said. She took a breath. "I've been seeing a therapist." I raised my eyebrows. "You?" "Yes, me. I know, shocking. But the heart attack scared me, Charlotte. It made me realize that I'm not going to live forever, and I don't want to die having destroyed my relationship with my daughter and granddaughter. So I've been talking to someone about why I do the things I do, and what I can do to change." "And what has this therapist told you?" "That I have control issues stemming from my own childhood, that I've been using money and guilt to manipulate my children because it makes me feel powerful, and that I'm terrified of being abandoned, so I push people away before they can leave me first." She said it all in a rush, like she'd been practicing. She also said that none of that is an excuse for the way I've treated you, and apologizing isn't enough. I have to actually change my behavior. I sat back in my chair, genuinely surprised. Okay, that's a start. I know I've said I'm sorry before, and then turned around and done the same things all over again. I know you have no reason to believe me this time, but I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to respect your boundaries, I'm going to stop commenting on your life choices, and I'm not going to ask you for money or expect you to fund your siblings anymore.
What about Victoria and Marcus? What about them? Are you going to stop using me as an excuse for why they're not more successful? Are you going to stop making me the bad guy every time I say no to something? My mother looked down at her hands. I'm going to try, but Charlotte, I can't control what your siblings do or think. I can only control myself. Fair enough. I leaned forward. Here's the thing, Mom. I want to believe you, I really do, but I need you to understand something. You don't get access to Lily until I'm absolutely certain you're not going to hurt her again. Not at holidays, not at birthdays, not at random Tuesday dinners. She's my priority, and I will protect her from you if I have to. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't a negotiation. This isn't me playing hardball or trying to punish you. This is me being a mother and putting my daughter first, the way you should have put me first all those years ago. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You're right, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all the times I didn't put you first, for all the times I made you feel like you weren't enough, for teaching you that love was conditional and had to be earned instead of given freely. I felt my own eyes start to burn, but I blinked the tears back. I needed to hear that about 30 years ago. I know, and I can't get that time back, but I can try to do better now, if you'll let me. We talked for another 45 minutes. She told me about her therapy sessions, about the work she was doing to understand why she'd been such a critical mother, about her own complicated relationship with her parents. I told her about raising Lily alone, about the fear that I was screwing up my daughter the way she'd screwed up me, about the constant guilt and second-guessing that came with single parenthood. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a Hallmark movie moment where we hugged and cried and everything was magically fixed, but it was real, and it was more honest than any conversation we'd had in decades. When she left, I opened the box she'd brought. Inside was a beautiful leather-bound photo album, and when I flipped it open, I found pictures of me as a child, me on my first day of school, me at my 5th birthday party, me graduating from high school, from college, from business school, me holding Lily for the first time in the hospital. There was a note tucked into the front cover in my mother's handwriting. I'm sorry I wasn't there for these moments the way I should have been. I'm sorry I was too busy being critical to tell you how proud I was. I'm sorry for everything. I love you. Mom. I closed the album and set it on my bookshelf. Then I called Victoria. Hey, I said when she picked up, you want to come over for dinner Sunday? Bring whoever you're dating this week. It'll just be me and Lily, nothing fancy. There was a pause, then, really? Yeah, really. I figure it's time to start rebuilding some bridges. But Vic, I need you to understand something. This is a trial run. One wrong move, one hint that you're falling back into old patterns, and you're out. I mean it. I get it. And Charlotte, thank you for giving me a chance. Don't thank me yet. Just show up and be a good aunt. That's all I'm asking. Sunday dinner was awkward at first. Victoria brought her new girlfriend, a woman named Michelle, who worked in tech and had absolutely no idea about our family drama. Lily was shy at first, but Victoria won her over by bringing a magic kit and teaching her card tricks. We ate pasta and garlic bread and talked about Victoria's hotel business and Michelle's startup and Lily's upcoming dance recital. It was normal and boring and absolutely perfect.
After dinner, while Lily was showing Michelle her room, Victoria helped me clean up in the kitchen. "Thank you for this," she said quietly. "I know it wasn't easy." "No, it wasn't, but you're trying. That's more than I can say for Mom from most of my life." "Did you hear she's in therapy?" "Yeah, she told me." "Do you believe her?" Victoria thought about it. "I think she's scared. I think she finally realized she's going to die someday and she doesn't want to die alone. Whether that's enough to actually make her change, I don't know, but I hope so." "Me too," I admitted. "For Lily's sake, if nothing else. Every kid deserves grandparents who give a shit." "What about Dad?" "What about him? Are you going to let him back in too?" I dried a plate slowly, thinking. Dad's never been the problem. He's just been too weak to stand up to Mom. If she actually changes, maybe he will too. If not, then he made his choice. Over the next few months, things slowly started to shift. My mother kept seeing her therapist and actually seemed to be working on herself. She sent Lily cards on random Tuesdays, not asking for anything, just saying she was thinking of her. She invited me to lunch once a month and actually listened when I talked, instead of just waiting for her turn to criticize. Victoria became a regular fixture in our lives, showing up for Lily's recitals and school events, always respectful of boundaries, never asking for money. Her hotel business continued to thrive, and she started talking about opening a third location. Marcus got his shit together enough to pay back $50,000 of the $2 million he owed me. It wasn't much, but it was something. We had coffee once, and he apologized for being a shit brother. I didn't forgive him yet, but I didn't block his number anymore either. My father started calling every Sunday, just to check in and ask about Lily. We didn't talk about anything deep, just surface-level stuff about school and weather and his golf game, but it was more than we'd talked in years. And me? I started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual dinners and drinks with people I met through friends or work. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, expecting my family to implode. I started sleeping better. I took Lily to Paris for a week just because we could, and we ate croissants and visited museums, and I didn't think about my family drama once. 6 months after my mother's heart attack, she asked if she could see Lily. Not at a family event, not in a group setting, just the two of them for an afternoon. I almost said no. Every protective instinct I had was screaming at me to keep my daughter away from the woman who'd hurt her so badly. But Lily had been asking about Grandma lately, and my mother had been consistent in her therapy and her behavior, and maybe, just maybe, people could actually change. One afternoon, I told my mother, "You can take her to the park or for ice cream or whatever, but I'm going to be nearby, and if you say one critical word or make her feel bad in any way, that's it. You're done." "I understand. Thank you, Charlotte." I watched them from a coffee shop across from Central Park, sitting at a window where I could see the playground. My mother pushed Lily on the swings, bought her an ice cream from a vendor, sat with her on a bench, and pointed at birds. Lily laughed. My mother smiled. It looked almost normal. When they came back 2 hours later, Lily was chattering excitedly about the ducks they'd fed and the dogs they'd seen, and the story Grandma had told her about when I was little. "Did you have fun?" I asked her. "So much fun. Grandma says she wants to take me to the zoo next time. Can't she, Mom? Please?" I looked at my mother over Lily's head. She looked tired but happy, and there was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Hope, maybe. Or humility. "We'll see," I said. "But yeah, maybe." After Lily went to bed that night, my mother and I sat in my living room with glasses of wine. "Thank you for trusting me with her," my mother said. "I'm still not sure I do, but you've been consistent, and Lily deserves to know her grandmother, the real version, not the critical, judgmental version. I'm trying to be better, for both of you. I know, and I appreciate it, but Mom, I need you to understand something. We're not going back to the way things were before. I'm not going to fund your lifestyle or bail out my siblings or pretend like the past didn't happen. This relationship we're building, it's new, it's different, And it has to be on my terms. I understand, and I accept that. Good. We sat in silence for a moment, and then my mother said something that surprised me. I'm proud of you, Charlotte. I don't think I've ever told you that, but I am. You're an amazing mother and a successful businesswoman, and you're raising Lily to be kind and confident and strong. You're everything I should have been and wasn't, and I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. I felt tears start to fall before I could stop them. I've waited my whole life to hear you say that. I know, and I'm sorry I made you wait so long. She left soon after, and I sat alone in my living room crying. Not sad tears, but something else. Relief, maybe, or release, or just the accumulated weight of 38 years of trying to earn love that should have been given freely, finally lifting off my shoulders. A year later, Lily turned 8, and I threw her another party at the country club. Smaller this time, more manageable, but still special. My mother came, Victoria came, Marcus came, my father came, and they stayed.
They stayed for the entire party. They sang happy birthday, they ate cake, they watched Lily open presents. They acted like a normal family. And for the first time in my life, it felt real. I stood off to the side at one point, watching my daughter blow out her candles, surrounded by people who loved her, and Rachel came up beside me. "You did good, Char," she said, handing me a glass of champagne. "I didn't do anything. They did the work. You set the boundaries. You held the line. You made them prove they'd changed before you let them back in. That takes strength." I clinked my glass against hers. "Thanks for being there through all of it. That's what friends are for. Besides, the drama was way better than any reality show. I'm almost sad it's over." I laughed. "It's not over. It's just different. There'll be new drama, I'm sure. There always is with family." "True, but at least now they're trying. That's something." "Yeah, it is." My mother came over then, a little hesitant, and asked if she could talk to me for a minute. Rachel excused herself with a knowing look. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Everything's fine. I just wanted to tell you something." My mother took a breath. "I've been thinking about what to do with my estate when I die, and I've decided to leave everything to you and Lily. Not because I'm trying to make up for the past with money, but because I want you to know that I trust you to use it wisely, and because I want Lily to have the same opportunities you had, to build something meaningful with her inheritance the way you did." I didn't know what to say. "Mom, you don't have to do that." "I know I don't have to, but I want to. You've earned it, Charlotte. Not by being a good daughter or following my rules or doing what I wanted you to do, but by being yourself, by building a life you're proud of, by raising an incredible child. You've earned the right to my respect and my trust and whatever I can give you to make the rest of your life a little easier." "Thank you," I managed. "No, thank you for giving me another chance, for letting me be part of Lily's life, for not giving up on me even when I'd given up on myself." She hugged me then, and I hugged her back, and it still wasn't perfect. There were still issues we'd have to work through, still resentments that needed time to heal, still moments when she'd slip back into old patterns, and I'd have to remind her of our boundaries. But it was a start. It was real. And for the first time in my life, I actually believed that maybe we could have the relationship I'd always wanted. I looked over at Lily, who was laughing with her friends, her face smeared with frosting, her dress already stained from cake and ice cream. She looked happy. She looked loved. And she had no idea what it had taken to get to this moment, to this party where her grandmother stayed and her aunts and uncles showed up, and her mother didn't have to choose between family and self-respect. That was okay. She didn't need to know. All she needed to know was that she mattered, that she was loved, and that no matter what happens with the rest of the family, she would always have me. And maybe, just maybe, she'd have them too.